that works for you in Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, and wherever else you work. It'll automatically combine your contacts, communication histories, email inboxes, and calendar appointments into one unified contact record. It also integrates with social media and with almost 200 different applications at the moment. We also have an app that's available both on iOS and Android. Let me just get my screen set up here, and I will go ahead and show you all that Nimble has to offer. Great. So here we are on Nimble's Today page. This is basically designed to allow you to go ahead and completely customize it to your specific needs. Each user's Today page will be specific to them. So each user on the Nimble account can go ahead and configure this as they like. Before the Today page starts populating with data, you'll want to go ahead and make sure that everything is connected. And the way you can connect everything would be by going to your Networks and Imports page. You can either click here from your settings and go directly to Networks and Imports by clicking on the left. We can click towards the top here and select Networks and Imports as well. This is basically the connection hub for anything you'd go ahead and bring into Nimble. You want to go ahead and make sure your email account is connected. Nimble does support all email providers as long as they're set up for IMAP. So as I mentioned, even if you don't have an Office 365 or G Suite account, you can go ahead and connect your account through those IMAP settings. We don't support POP email at the moment, so if your email is POP, you might try connecting it through your email provider and see if they can enable IMAP for you. If you are using Office 365, we have great news. For connecting your email, calendar, and even importing your contacts can all be done with basically one click. If you're interested in connecting with your email and your calendars, you can leave all these options checked. You'll go ahead and click Connect Microsoft 365 here. You'll see you have some options of what you can go ahead and sync to Nimble. So you'll just check whatever you'd like to click there and go ahead and click Connect Microsoft 365 account. And then you'll be prompted to log into this account, enter your email and password, and once that's done, information will basically begin populating in Nimble. You can definitely select which contacts or contacts groups you want to import from Outlook. In fact, we always recommend that you apply a tag to those contacts just to ensure that both you and all the other users know who imported those contacts and from where, so you can easily group and identify them. Additionally, if you are using Gmail, it's also a quite easy process. You'll just go ahead and click Connect G Suite account. The only difference is that you have to scroll a bit down to also connect your calendar. So you can connect your emails and contacts and then your calendars from a specific account if you'd like. If you're using any other kind of IMAP email, you'll go ahead and click on that IMAP action I showed you earlier. You wouldn't be able to sync your contacts and calendars directly from that account, but you can, of course, connect your emails, so you'll have a running history, and likewise, you'll be able to send and track messages from here in Nimble. Nimble also currently directly integrates with Twitter, so if you'd like to go ahead and connect your social network here, you can go ahead and click and just log in to your Twitter account. You'll be able to see an entire history of the conversations you've had with your different prospects and customers on Twitter directly inside of Nimble in our Signals tab, just over here to the left. You'll also be able to make status updates and send direct messages from right here within Nimble. Yeah, unfortunately, Facebook and LinkedIn made the business decision a few years ago to close their APIs, so we're currently not able to integrate directly with them, but we still do make that possible. For you to use Nimble on your social networks with our browser extension, the Nimble Prospector, which I can definitely demonstrate for you a little bit later. Additionally, it is possible to go ahead and if you'd like to import LinkedIn connections, you can do that directly via CSV import by just going ahead and downloading those insights from LinkedIn and then uploading the file to Nimble and just going ahead and mapping the different columns in that file to the data fields in Nimble. Again, you're going to want to make sure you apply a tag. If you want to make sure your LinkedIn contacts are always up to date, then you can either run this export or import periodically, or you can use the prospector to go ahead and update information. Additionally, Nimble will always automatically merge duplicates if they have the same email address. So as far as LinkedIn, as I mentioned, you just go ahead and click up here, go ahead and upload your file and follow the instructions. And this would work for any other CSV as well. You'll just go ahead and select the file you'd like, and then you can just map the different, as I mentioned, columns in your file, the different data there to the data fields that exist in Nimble. And if, for instance, you don't have, or rather you have information in your file that doesn't already have a dedicated field in Nimble, you can always create a custom field by going to your data fields here on the left and creating a custom field to store that information. This would just be a convenient way to go ahead and upload your files, because many companies or many users enter their information into spreadsheets. So this can definitely be helpful if you're transitioning from a different CRM or importing contacts from LinkedIn or another service. It's very likely that we already know what the original file looks like, and you would even have some options, some preset mapping options from different services that'll automatically go ahead and match those different fields up for you. Now that we've got everything connected, we'll go back to that Today page. Now that emails, calendars, and contacts have been synced, information on your Today page will begin populating. This is a completely customizable page for you, and everyone else in your organization can pick which widgets they want to display. Many widgets can also be moved around and removed, duplicated. You can do that either by clicking the three dots at the top of one of these widgets, or even selecting Manage Widgets option at the top right here. So give you the option to drag and drop any of these widgets to new positions. You can also add or remove any of the widgets displayed, depending on exactly what you would like to see when you first log in here. Duplicating widgets can be useful if you'd like to be able to see, for instance, your personal calendar in one box and your team calendar in another inbox. You'll notice that, for instance, there are these drop-down menus that will display certain information. So, for instance, you might want your Nimble calendar on display as well as one of your other selected calendars. You can go ahead and duplicate this widget if you'd like, so that you can see two different views here. You can also set it up. This might be helpful with, for instance, your team's deals, so you can see what your team is working on sales-wise in one widget, and then your personal deals in another, without having to switch between the drop-down menus. They'll just all be displayed at a glance. As I mentioned, you have the ability to move these widgets around. So the ones that are the top might be the most important to you, for instance, like calendars and things like email tracking or deals, tasks, etc. could be listed at the top. And I'll just go over each of these really quickly for you. So for instance, we do have our tasks here. These are basically to-do list items that you can create for yourself and your different teammates. You can view them according to their status, so whether they're upcoming, overdue, completed, or important. Sorry about that. I just went to all of my tasks here. You can mark them important by clicking this little star icon. You can complete them by checking there. And of course, if they appear overdue, meaning that they've exceeded the date you've set for them, they'll appear here in red, as well as on this overdue menu. And of course, any that are upcoming would just be listed here as upcoming tasks. You can also, as I mentioned, create them directly from this widget. So you can go ahead and enter names, link any of your contacts or deal opportunities, give a description, and of course, set the specific date and time for your task. You might even want to tag your activities, similar to how you tag your contacts, just so you can, view all activities of a certain group if you'd like, maybe all activities related to a certain project or company or something like that. You can go ahead and tag them. Additionally, our events here differ a little bit from the task in that these events are synced to your calendar. So a calendar, like a Nimble calendar, as I mentioned, we have the built-in Nimble calendar, and then also, a Google Calendar or Outlook calendar. If you'd like to go ahead and connect those through your email accounts, events would be displayed here. You can also create events directly from here on this page. Moving down, we have some widgets that'll help you keep certain contacts top of mind. For instance, our stay in touch reminders. You can set these on a contact record or even in the contacts tab or right here. You'll just select a given timed interval, and that'll go ahead and allow you to be reminded to reach out to this contact as they approach the date you've set. You can always reset them by just clicking there, or even go ahead and send someone a message to automatically update this. Likewise, we have an email tracking widget as well on my bottom left here, which will basically show you who has opened any messages you sent, likewise who's clicked any links in those messages, so that you can go ahead and see who's keeping up with your correspondence, who you might need to reach out to, etc. And then additionally, we have a lot of widgets related to my different deal opportunities. So for instance, we have a stage funnel. This will allow you to select a specific pipeline, and you can see all of your deals and which stages they're in, color coded for easy access, of course. So you can see, where you're putting the most energy, where you might need to put a little bit more. This will allow you to monitor your active prospects, your leads, and opportunities at each stage. So you can go ahead and see just like a quick overview to know, where you need to focus to meet your goals. Additionally, we have just a deals widget here, which will just show you all of your active deals if you'd like, or any that have already been closed, marked either won or lost. You can do these for yourself individually and then also for your teammates. So if your teammates are also creating deals, you can view theirs as well. And then additionally, we have a couple of other pipeline charts. One which will just show you over time here, organized by date, color-coded, visual of the amount of deals you're managing at each stage they're in for a given month. And you can even view that information by revenue, for instance, if you'd like. Well, it doesn't have any deals created actually on this pipeline. But you'll also be able to view them by revenue if you'd like. So just the sheer volume, your wins versus losses, monetary gains, and things like that. And the rest of these widgets would be for specific activities. So just as you can create tasks or events, you can even log calls in Nimble. We have a widget here. It'll show you any calls that you've created, either that are already completed, pending, or calls that might even be overdue. And likewise, you can create custom activities. So if there is a type of activity that your team carries out often, like a text or a follow-up or some type of meeting, you can go ahead and create it as a custom activity. And you can go ahead and log those as well. They'll be displayed here, similar to how your tasks or calls would be displayed. There are also a couple widgets that I don't have displayed here. For instance, there's a signals widget, which will show you those insights from social media if you'd like. There's also a highlighted contacts widget where you can, in your settings, enter keywords for different contacts that you'd like to sort of keep top of mind. For instance, things like CEO, or you might enter their industry like art, architecture, things like that, and it will create basically a list of contacts that meet those criteria that you might be interested in reaching out to. The contacts page, in general, will probably be one of the places where you'll spend most of your time. Nimble has a lot of features, but the contact database is at its core. So you can easily select here your contacts. You'll see at the top there's some built-in filters here. So of course you can select all contacts to view everything. We also have them organized by people versus company, any that have been marked important with this little star icon, recently viewed, added, and contacted. Of course, we keep track of, and any that have the little stay in touch reminder, which you can create here, or you can always visit this filter to see all contacts that already have that applied. Additionally, your removed contacts, the account admin will be able to set how many days they'll allow deleted contacts to stay in this folder. But essentially, once you delete contacts, they'll be moved here, and you can either permanently delete them, or after a certain amount of time, they will be automatically deleted. And you can also restore them just in case you accidentally remove any of your contacts. You can see all the basic information about a person linked in their contact record. I'll go ahead and show you John's because he's a perfect example here. But you'll see all this basic information listed at the top of the contact record. Notice picture, job title, company, etc., and even a short biography, which is pulled from social media insights, actually. Like Twitter profiles, you'll notice there's a couple of different social profiles linked here. And these would basically be direct links to these profiles that have been entered into the project. And they also provide insights like this summary that I mentioned, as well as our smart summary here, which will just give you a bit more information on a contact's sphere of influence, their industry is important information, and things like job titles, birthdays, etc. that might help you go ahead and reach out to them. You can take all actions for a contact here as well. Towards the top, you'll notice that you can log notes. So you just click add note, you can enter any information, and then it will be stored on their contact record under interactions. Likewise, I mentioned logging activities. You can do that as well from here. You'll notice that you can create tasks, events, and if you do create an event, it'll just ask you exactly which calendar you'd like to sync that to using this drop-down menu here on the right. You can also log calls, as I mentioned, and the call form will give you a little bit more information, like allow you to add a duration, description, etc. Of course, you can link all of your activities to different deals. So if these are related to sales opportunities, you can enter the deal name there. And what that'll do is go ahead and place this activity, this call, both on John's contact record and on that deal record. So when I visit that deal, I can clearly see any correspondence that I've had linked to it. And as I mentioned, you can also create custom activities for your team. So you can always select there to go ahead and create one of those. The account admin can create these custom activities in the settings, or they can grant other users the ability to set them up. And of course, you can send messages, either direct messages from the Twitter account that you've connected, or even just, of course, well, he's unsubscribed, but of course, email messages to any of your users. You can also go ahead and track those messages. So that'll go ahead and give you the option. And then additionally, you can create deals from right here as well. So of course, you can create a deal name, enter the probability of success, which will contribute to the weighted view on both your pipeline and in those little charts, those widgets rather, that I showed a little bit earlier. Just give it a date, and then you can select the exact stage and pipeline you'd like to add it to, as well as privacy. You might want to make your deals private or public so that others can edit them, or even public so that other team members can just view them, depending on how collaboratively your team works here. In addition to setting up privacy for things like deals, you can also set up privacy for your individual contacts. So contacts can be private, they can be shared with everyone, they can be visible to everyone, again, so that other users can see them but not edit the information. Or you can even set custom privacy settings for specific groups or people. This will just help you delineate, who's working with who and sort of organize your contacts depending on how your team structure works. It can be helpful if you want, each of your teams or departments to have sort of a different set of positions or set of permissions rather. For instance, you might have a sales team that you just want to be privy to deals and things like that. You might have another, outreach team or marketing team that specifically deals with your contact interactions. So the admin can create different contact groups and add different users to those groups, delineating certain permissions, depending on how you'd like to organize your team. And then on the contact record, you can also go ahead and set stay in touch reminders or remove them, reset them, of course. And you can also assign contact ownership. So typically the contact owner or the person that imports the contact is the owner. The account admin can adjust this. And additionally, the contact owner would be able to go ahead and set privacy and make those adjustments, edit the contact, etc. You can also edit and create new tags for your contacts. I mentioned you can go ahead and tag them. You can do that from here, or even in the contacts tab, you can select multiple contacts and go ahead and tag them all at once. You can also edit or remove any tags directly from here as you'd like. And then you also might consider using the lead fields here to better organize your contacts. This is a space where you can, for instance, rate your contacts 1 to 5. You can select the status, i.e. where you were, in your dealings with them, a source, so where you were initially introduced to them, and the type of contact you are. So whether they're an investor, competitor, customer, partner, etc. You can go ahead and enter that information there as well. And then you can search based on these values in the contacts tab. So for instance, you can find all of your prospects that you reached out to, or that were reached out to via advertisement or something like that. You can also edit these options. So for status, source, and type, you can go to your data field settings and edit the options if you want them to better reflect, your team and your industry's process. On the right side of this contact record would be your interactions. So you'll see your entire history of interactions that you've had with this person, including notes, emails, any of those Twitter messages, deals, and activities. You can view them all at once chronologically, or of course select specific type of activity to view. So once you create a contact record and begin linking your different contacts to deal opportunities or sending them messages, creating activities that they're involved in, they'll all be listed here. So you and your team can always come back here to view them, see where you are with them, any past dealings, etc. So you just have this running history. You can also use these individual tabs, as I mentioned, just in case it gets a little bit overwhelming to see sort of everything under the All tab here all at once. And under these, for instance, activities, you can select a specific type of activity if you'd like to, better organize or categorize these. Additionally, for your notes, which I don't have any entered here, but notes are searchable. So once you have several notes, you can easily find the one you're looking for based on keywords as well. A little filter will come up and you can type directly into there. And the Deals tab will give you an overview, of course, of all the deals associated with a given contact. Likewise, your data fields here will show all the basic contact information you've added. So, URLs to those social profiles, descriptions that I mentioned, your lead details, and of course, phone numbers, addresses, things like employment history, etc. Additionally, if you've created any custom fields, which you can create up to 5 custom tabs, and under each of those, you can create up to 200 individual custom fields. So there's a lot of space there to add information that might not already have a dedicated field in Nimble. These fields can also be searched for and segmented. For instance, I've created a language field for my contacts here, which I've decided to make a drop-down menu of preset options, but you can also just create fields with text boxes that you can, type directly into. You can select numerical values such as dates and percentages and things like that. So you have quite a few options in terms of your custom fields there. And again, that would just be under your settings data fields. So you can go ahead and select here and you go to data fields. That's where you can create custom fields or edit any of those lead field options that already exist. And lastly, if you'd like, you can also attach files to your contact record, either from OneDrive, Google Drive, Dropbox, or even from your computer. If you want to go ahead and upload files that might be related to this contact, blueprints, contracts, videos, anything really, you can go ahead and upload them from these services as well as from your computer right here. When you go back to your contacts page, your contacts tab rather, you'll be able to create segments, which are very helpful. Whereas your tags are static and have to be created manually. For instance, you can select a contact or group of contacts and just go ahead and apply a tag to them. Your segments will basically work in that you create criteria or filters for a list, and anytime a contact meets that criteria, they'll automatically be added to this list. You can launch the segmentation by clicking this main search bar at the top that says segment search, or even clicking add segment on the left here under all of your pre-saved segments. And this will allow you to search across many data fields to organize your contact lists. Once you've created them, you can take bulk actions like sending group message or creating follow-up tasks. So for instance, you can select segment search. It'll give you some options here of the most popular data fields people usually search on. But I could, for instance, create a list of all of my contacts that are here in Los Angeles. Or I could even, create, as I mentioned, you can really create these based on any data field. So you can search based on, notes that you've entered, any of the workflow stages that your contacts are currently in, basic information like, their company, job history, phone numbers, emails, etc. And then you can even search on, for instance, when a contact was created or by who. If I, for instance, select my last contacted by team, I can select a given date range. So for instance, in the last 30 days, and it'll give me a list of all these contacts. I can also further filter it by toggling between and or and adding additional filters. So any of my contacts that were contacted in the last 30 days and, for instance, have an email present. You'll notice there's also quite a few options that you can search based on here. So for instance, I could search based on domains or specific keywords. For the purposes of this, I'll just select is not empty. And then this gives me my list of contacts. Once you have your search, you can go ahead and, take bulk actions, like for instance, marking this entire list important. I could apply tags or even stay in touch reminders. I could also merge any duplicates. If you believe you have duplicate records, you can select them both and click this merge option, which will be highlighted. You can also take actions like, for instance, changing ownership, privacy, or adding these all to one of your workflows. You can even export them to CSV, to Mailchimp, or even to a vCard format. And of course, you can delete them, or you might want to save this list for future use, for instance, for email marketing. And if you ever need to review it again, it'll be saved under My Segments. And then once you do that, you can click Send Group Message. So you can go ahead and craft lists of contacts ahead of time, save them, and then whenever you want to reach out to those contacts again, you'll just click Send Group Message here. You'll be taken directly to our Group Messages tab, which appears like so, email form. If you really like, you can of course type directly into here. And if you really like what you type into the form, you can save it as a template. These messages are sent out as one-to-one messages from you to your contacts, so no one else will be CC'd or BCC'd or anything like that. And once you go ahead and send out your message, as I mentioned, you'll be able to receive tracking stats on those. You might even consider adding a merge tag just so it's a little more personal. So when it sends out, it pulls in everyone's first name. We also recommend adding an unsubscribe link just so you have the option of opting out, or rather recipients have the option of opting out. And of course, you can attach files, links, images, change your font, anything like that. You might want to send yourself a test message just so you know it appears as you would like it to. And group messages are automatically tracked, but if you didn't want to track them, you can just click Don't Track This Message at the bottom here. Nimble will allow you to send these targeted messages to up to 100, 200, or 300 contacts per day. You'll notice your limit in the top right of the corner there. So this is a great way to go ahead and finish out sales outreach, marketing messages to big lists of your contacts. The most common question we get about this is if it could replace a marketing automation system. And it wouldn't be able to do that because our group messages are designed to be used in conjunction with the segmentation feature that I just demonstrated to allow you to send those targeted mail outreaches to specific groups. The biggest advantage would be that these are sent over your personal email account. So they'll appear as if they were sent from you, not an email marketing system. And when you compose your messages, as I mentioned, you might want to go ahead and use merge tags. Go ahead and add unsubscribe links. If you like what you've written in this form, you can go ahead and save it as a template. You can also save these templates ahead of time, but if you're working on the fly and you create one that you really like, you can save it as a template. And then for any of the templates you've already saved, you can use this drop-down menu and pull them directly into the message form. Templates are also shareable, so when you create these, you can create them in your email settings and share them with the rest of your team so you all have access to them. And once you've sent out these messages, you'll be able to receive reports. So you can always go to your group messages tab and click on the subject of any of your previous group messages. You'll be able to see who's opened them, who's clicked any links, if any of them have gone unread, failed to be delivered, or unsubscribed. You'll be able to see the percentages at the top. So you can always just click on one of these values to see all contacts that have been categorized open or that have clicked links. And then additionally, you'll be able to see for each individual user how they've been interacting with them and when. From here, you can also take further actions like maybe tag them, signifying that you need to follow up or that you've already reached out to them. You might even go ahead and click send message, and that'll send you right back to that group messages form where you can go ahead and follow up with them directly, send them another message. All right. Now jumping over to our activities really quickly, this is where you would see, for instance, all of those tasks, events, calls, etc. that you've created in our activity listing tab here. We've got a couple of different tabs, the agenda as well. But in this listing view, you can go ahead and filter tasks by who they've been assigned to, the type of event they are, as well as contacts that might be related, or even their status, whether that's upcoming, pending, or completed. And you can also save these filters if you'd like, so that you can always visit that again, similar to your segments. Additionally, you can export your activities. So by just clicking export at the top, you can select a date range, and whether you'd like a filtered list or just all the activities in that given date range. And that'll be emailed to you via CSV file. And we've also introduced the ability to manage your contacts through workflows. This way you can never let another lead slip through your cracks. This will enable you and your team to sort of visualize your progress with your different leads, qualifying them as they go through, buying phase. Ultimately, you can convert them to sales, or you might just be monitoring different processes you're taking with your individual contacts. Whether you're in real estate, marketing, recruiting, or consulting, you can utilize this customizable board to create multiple pipelines and stages that suit your business. At the beginning, you might have a bunch of leads, as you're sort of working with all of your different contacts, sitting in sort of the early stages of your pipeline. They might not be ready to become actual deal opportunities yet, but also you might not want to completely remove them from your process or take them off your radar. They can cause a lot of clutter potentially in your deals pipeline. So this is a place for you to sort of manage those processes before you get to those deal stages. You can add these leads here and separate them into different pipelines to store your pre-qualified opportunities, basically. Once you decide they're ready, you can go ahead and convert them to a deal just by clicking on a given contact. And then that'll be saved to your deals pipeline. You can also import these to your account via spreadsheets or even through the API. And you can also organize your potential contacts by moving them to your sales pipeline, either in bulk. You can also use that segmentation feature on the contacts tab. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a filter there for each of your pipelines that you've already sort of created here. Once you've created a new lead, you might want to go ahead and create custom pipelines. To address these, you can always do that by clicking on your settings. So in the top right, you'll notice there's a settings options. Once here, you'll have the option to, for instance, add a new workflow. You can create one from scratch if you'd like, creating custom stages, giving it a name, and just monitoring your process specifically to you. Or if you are in any of these industries, you might want to use one of our pre-created templates. So for instance, you can select any of these and you'll notice it'll have a list of the stages that will already be added, as well as the fields that'll be displayed on those lead cards for any of these. So once you select one of these, if these fit your business and your templates pretty well, you'll just go ahead and click Use Template. And additionally, if you wanted to create one from scratch, at the top here, you'll just click Create from Scratch. And you can go ahead and create a workflow name, give it a color distinction, add any custom stages that you need to. And you'll be able to not only name all these stages, but add instructions for the stages. So you might want to go ahead and give more information so your team can follow along right there. And additionally, you can go ahead and click on, of course, that little pen icon to edit at any point. You can also add lost reasons for the pipeline. When you're exiting one of these leads from your pipeline, you'll be asked if it was successful or unsuccessful. So you might want to list some reasons for it being unsuccessful. So you can go ahead and log those for yourself and your team, just so you can be aware and improve your process. So you can add custom reasons there. And additionally, if you'll notice these lead card fields, for instance, on most of my pipelines, I just have basic contact info and tags displayed, but you can also add any additional fields or even create new fields to display on your lead cards if you'd like. So whatever information you'd like to go ahead and see at a glance, when you first click into your workflows for all of your contacts, you can add that and customize that here. And then when you return to your workflows, you'll notice, for instance, all of the information, as I mentioned, listed there. You might have custom or multiple workflows here. So you can, of course, set different stages and different information on your lead cards, etc., for all of them. And the full lead can be found on the contact records. You can always just visit there or click to bring up their profile on the right here. And then in case you need to view any information or take any additional steps, edit any contacts, maybe add some notes or something for them, you can do that right here in this little sidebar. There's also a list view. If you prefer to see sort of a column view of this data displayed, you can always check the list view. Additionally, you can perform inline edits here. So directly from this list view, you can sort of edit and add information to your different contacts. And you can use the deals feature to manage your sales opportunities. Similarly, this is a pipeline view. You can also, by clicking customize pipelines here at the top, create custom pipelines for these as well, editing your stages, of course. You can even drag and drop them to new positions if you'd like to change them. You can add or remove any of these stages, and then they'll be reflected in that Deals tab. And similar to that Workflows pipeline, you'll just drag and drop your different opportunities. You notice each stage will be reflecting that. This is also the information that will feed back to those widgets on the Today page that I initially showed you. And when you're creating deals, you can just select New Deal there. Of course, enter name. Any contacts that you want to link to the deal can be listed as primary contacts or participants. You can, of course, give a monetary value, an expected close date, probability of success. You might even want to assign this to yourself or other team members and assign privacy. Additionally, you can export your deals to a CSV file if you'd like. And additionally, when you eventually close a deal, move it all the way to close, it will be marked as won or lost. You can give a little information on what you'd like to do. And then you can use these drop-down menus at the top to view your different types of deals. So you can view any deals that are active, deals that have already been won, lost, or deals that might be stuck, which just means they've exceeded the amount of days you've set for a given stage. You can still edit those deals and view them. It's just a little reminder for you. And in our Reports tab, this is where you can see analyzed information from all of those deals. So for instance, you might want to view, just your wins versus losses, all of your monetary gains for deals in a given time frame. You'll be able to see that weighted view, again, based on the probability of success versus your total, wins versus losses, your averages, and likewise at the bottom, you'll be able to see for each individual team member how they're proceeding. You can print these for your records if you like, and again, you can use these drop-down menus at the top to view information for specific pipelines or specific users on your account. The forecasted deals, for instance, will show, based on a given time frame that you've set, your projected sales, wins versus losses, both in revenue and then also just the actual amount of deals. And your deals history will show you your historic deal results sorted by different times. So it'll give you a line graph over time display of your success here. And lastly, I'd like to go ahead and show you the Nimble Prospector, which is our browser extension. It's at the top, you'll notice my address bar, it's a little Nimble icon. So if I, for instance, go to, we'll use a LinkedIn profile and as an example, or really, if I'm on a company website viewing their employees page, or if I'm on social media, Facebook, Twitter, anything like that, this can be used. You essentially just go ahead and click the little icon. It'll bring the browser extension. You can toggle it between positions if you'd like, depending on how the display is. And you can really just highlight or hover over a contact's name to begin performing a search for them. And what this extension will do is look for other social media profiles that are linked to them. So for instance, in the case of Gemma here, it's found the LinkedIn page I'm on, as well as a Facebook and a Twitter that seem to be connected to her. So if I believe any of these profiles match, I'll just go ahead and click the little green check mark there. If they don't match, you'll click the red X, and it'll start building a live profile for you, pulling in all of the information from those sites that it was able to find. You'll notice it was able to find, for instance, this smart summary, looks like from Twitter, a little information from Cred Score, as well as an email address, and a website, both from Twitter and Foursquare. And if I'd like, I can go ahead and click add this contact, and then they have a Nimble profile that'll be synced to my Nimble contact records. As you'll see now, I have the option to add notes and log activities, send them a message, change privacy, etc. So you can use this extension wherever you're working on the web to go ahead and add more insights, as well as to access, your Nimble database anywhere on the web. So you can go ahead and edit contact records, take actions, etc. And we also have a mobile app. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar, but if you have had time, you might want to go ahead and download that mobile app. We have it both for the iPhone and for the Android, and it'll basically allow you to see, your full agenda listing, so any upcoming activities and things that you might be working on. Likewise, you can go ahead and schedule tasks, activities, view contacts, edit their records, even create deals, etc. So as you're working out in the field or you're on the go, you can go ahead and still access all of your Nimble records. There are a few things you can't do, like for instance, you can't segment records from this mobile app, but you can, of course, search for any of your contacts, categorize them, add tags, edit them. You can also sync data, your mobile contacts from your phone to Nimble whenever you'd like. You can set up a manual sync or a periodic sync, whichever works best for you. And again, that was the iPhone display, but we also have one for the Android, which works exactly the same, and that you can go ahead and add and schedule activities as you'd like. Likewise, you can view all of your contact records and sync information directly from your phone book to Nimble as necessary. Great. So it does look like we've come to about the end of our time here in this presentation. I'm going to go ahead and tackle some questions. Additionally, I would just like to note that we do have some upcoming webinars here. Next week on January 12th, we will be going over contact cleanup strategies. If you need any help with re-importing contacts, deleting in bulk, editing them, etc. And we also have our Nimble general overview, this similar presentation in a couple of weeks. You might be interested in checking out those. If you have not already signed up for Nimble, you can sign up today for a 30-day trial. You can go to nimble.com/offers/webinar30 to get 30 free days of Nimble, so you can poke around the system, see what Nimble has to offer, and go ahead and take advantage of all the features that I've displayed here today. And yeah, now I'd like to go ahead and get to your questions, since we have a couple more moments here. And if you do have any, please feel free to go ahead and type them out in the question section. Okay, so to begin here, does Nimble sync contacts or connect with GetResponse? I'm not familiar with GetResponse. I don't believe we have a direct integration with them, but you might consider using a third-party service like, for instance, Zapier. We recommend that to a lot of our users, and that would basically allow you to connect, Nimble with another app such as GetResponse to go ahead and sync contact data between the two. So for instance, I can check and see actually if they have a connection. I'll go ahead and do that in a moment. Yeah, I'll get right back to you about that. How about multiple Gmail calendars? Yes, you can definitely sync multiple calendars to Nimble on that networks and imports page. When you do click to go ahead and connect your Google account, it'll just ask you which calendars you'd like to sync. It'll have a list of all the calendars associated with that email address. So you can just go ahead and select there. For instance, you might want to select holidays and your personal calendar and maybe like a work calendar or anything else you've selected. You can definitely choose between them and sync as many of those as you'd like. For LinkedIn, do you need to import LinkedIn CSV every time you add new contacts to your LinkedIn? So yes, the connection would be a one-way import from LinkedIn to Nimble. If you're doing it via CSV import, that information would be static. So if you do want to update it or add new contacts, you need to re-import a new LinkedIn CSV, or you might consider using the prospector like I just demonstrated, which will go ahead and allow you to automatically add information from that other, or from LinkedIn rather. Oh, and additionally, I just checked and it looks like Zapier doesn't have a connection with GetResponse at the moment. So I think the best way to integrate information from that service might be either to use our API. You can generate an API key in Nimble, or you can export data, for instance, contacts that you might have from there, and go ahead and import them to Nimble to carry out email campaigns and things like that. Because you can also get email analytics and tracking stats directly from within Nimble using our group message feature. And this is just a kind comment about the training webinar. I'm so happy to help out. You would have access to this also afterwards. We'll go ahead and post this to our YouTube channel, which I'll put the link to that in the chat as well. You can go ahead and review any of these webinars. For instance, this one, as I mentioned, our contact cleanup webinars. We have webinars that deal specifically on segmentation, on deals, So a couple different topics, and I'll go ahead and definitely leave that link in the chat at the end here in case anyone wants to check out our YouTube channel. And then additionally, you can always schedule 15-minute screen share sessions with us if you'd like. So if you have anything specific in your account you'd like to demonstrate, or vice versa, you want us to go over any processes in Nimble, we can definitely do that from our calendar, and I can put that in the chat as well in a moment. We still use web contact forms, Gravity forms, so we're to integrate data submitted, or is there a Nimble website contact form that is recommended? You can connect through Gravity Forms. That would be another instance for Zapier, a third-party connector, which would be great. You can sync data directly, or you can use the Nimble API. If Gravity Forms works with an API key, you can just enter the Nimble API key to go ahead and sync that data, which should automatically go ahead and add it to your contacts. We also offer an integration with Wufoo, which is a form builder, which does the same thing. You can embed that form into either your email interactions, so your emails as you're sending them out, or even on your website, and that should also sync information. Yeah, and I have a question about an alternative to Mailchimp. Additionally, yeah, if you'd like to go ahead and carry out email campaigns in Mailchimp, you can select a group of contacts, click Export to Mailchimp in that Contacts tab, and that'll send your Nimble contacts to Mailchimp so that you can carry out the marketing campaign there. If I have my contacts divided in pipeline groups, what is the easiest way to send group periodical marketing emails? If you're referring to the workflows, then there is already I can go ahead and show you. If you're referring to your workflows, there is already a tab here, or a filter rather, in your contacts tab that will show you all contacts in a given workflow. So for instance, if I choose my new leads pipeline here at the bottom, this would show me all the contacts that are already listed in this workflow. And I can select them and click send group message if I wanted to go ahead and reach out to them all at once. That'll take me to that group messages form. All right, and just some more comments. Thank you for the overview. Of course, we're always happy to help out. And as for the 15-minute screen share session, I'll go ahead and put that link in this chat. It is just to it's a calendar. You can just go ahead, it's a Calendly. You can just go ahead and register for, select a time that works best for you and enter your email, and we'll go ahead and set up that session. And a question between the Deals tab and the Workflows tab. Essentially, you can create pipelines. They're both, customizable pipelines that you can sort of create to manage your different stages with your contacts. I would say the big difference is that the Deals tab handles mostly like sales opportunities. So you can add monetary values. You can, assign these projects to different users, etc. You can also, for instance, create tasks for your different deals, and I can also give you an example here. So once you create sort of deals within this tab and you go ahead and select one, you'll notice that similar to your contact record, messages as well as tasks and activities that you've created, or really any activities that you've created, will be linked. You can also log notes to your different deals and attach files, just like you can to the contact record. So it's a bit more comprehensive. You might be working on a specific project or sales opportunities, and anything related to that you can sort of create in this Deals tab. The biggest difference I would say between this and workflows is that workflows are managing individual contacts. So whereas you might create a deal and link a contact, link activities, tasks, things like that, give it a monetary value and sort of watch it as you're, trying to make a sale. The workflows are a way to manage your different contacts and opportunities before they become deals. So you might have just been introduced to a lead and you sort of want to take them through some stages of qualifying them, introducing yourself, establishing that relationship first. The workflow would be the place to do that. Great. And I will go ahead and lastly give you a link to our YouTube channel here. This is where you can view this webinar in probably a few hours, as well as any others that you might be interested in taking advantage of. And additionally, our Calendly here. So this is where you can schedule a screen share session with one of our team members. You'll just go here. You can select the time that works best for you. You'll just go ahead and enter your email. and we'll send you a confirmation invitation. All right. I want to thank you all so much for attending today. I do hope I was able to answer all of your questions, but if not, you can always go ahead and reach out to us at care@nimble.com. That's CARE@nimble.com. Put that in the chat as well. We're always happy to answer any questions that might be specific to your account or that you have there. Or of course, please feel free to go ahead and check out that YouTube channel if you prefer like a visual overview similar to this one, or even schedule time on our calendar. If you have any other questions about your account, we'd be happy to go ahead and answer them. All right, again, thank you so much for attending. I'm wishing you all a great rest of your week. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.